Akhanda-mandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam tatpadam darshitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupaswarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam. Namah Pankajanabhaya Namah Pankajamaline Namah Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajanghraye Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sarvebhyo Namaha, Sarvesham Krite Swagatam. Welcome to this session. We are now in the middle of the 12th chapter. We began the 12th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita in the last class, and we covered the first 7 shlokas in the last class. So I will first review those 7 shlokas and summarize what we learned in the last class before I go on to today's shlokas. So we began with the very first shloka, Arjuna Uvacha. Evam satata yuktaye bhaktas-tvam paryupasate ye chapyaksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. Shri Bhagavan uvacha maya veshya mano ye mam nitya yukta upasate shraddhaya parayopetas te me yuktatamamataha. Ye tvaksharam anirdeshyam avyaktam paryupasate sarvatragamacintyam cha kutaस्थमचलं ध्रुवम् संयम्येन्द्रियग्रामं सर्वत्र समबुद्धयः ते प्राप्नुवन्ति मामेव सर्वभूतहिते रताः. क्लेशोऽधिकतरस्तेषाम् अव्यक्तासक्तचेतसाम् अव्यक्ता हि गतिर्दुःखम् देहवद्भिरवाप्यते. ये तु सर्वाणि कर्माणि मयि सन्न्यस्य मत्पराः अनन्येनैव योगेन मां ध्यायन्त उपासते तेषामहं समुद्धर्ता मृत्युसंसारसागरात् भवामि न चिरात् पार्थ मय्यावेशितचेतसाम्. So we studied up till this point in the last class. So what is Bhagavan, or what is the Bhagavad Gita telling us in the first 7 shlokas? I've summarized it here. Essentially, there are 2 types of yoga sadhakas. People who are practicing the discipline of yoga. Yoga means connecting with the Supreme. The word yoga means connection. And in the context of Bhagavad Gita, it means connecting with the Supreme Being. So there are 2 types of sadhakas Arjuna refers to in the very first shloka. He asks Krishna that who has the best understanding of yoga among these 2? Who has the best understanding? One of them is a bhakta, type 1. He says the bhakta is one who is continuously engaged in your service, and the other one is non-bhakta. So what are the differences between them? The bhakta looks at the Supreme Reality as a person, whereas the non-bhakta looks at the Supreme Reality as an eternal consciousness, a conscious being, which does not have a personality, but it is having properties like it is undecaying. It has no decay. It is akshara. And it is avyakta, means it is unmanifest. It never takes any form. Whereas the bhakta has a different understanding. The Supreme Reality is a person, just like we have people around. It's a person with whom you can have a relationship. You can continuously connect with that person and have a personal relationship of affection, and you can engage in the service of that person. This is the bhakta's understanding. So which of these 2 has a better understanding of yoga? Arjuna asks Krishna in the very first shloka, and Krishna answers that it is the bhakta who has a better understanding. And he says that the other person, the non-bhakta, also achieves Bhagavan, also achieves me, he says. He's referring to himself, which means Bhagavan. He also achieves Bhagavan, but he says faces more difficulty on the way compared to the bhakta. The path taken by the bhakta, or the bhakti yoga, path of bhakti yoga, is the easier path between the two. He has a better understanding, and also he follows an easier path. An easier path in this context leads to a better understanding as well. But the non-bhakta, he follows the path known as Jnana Marga or Jnana Yoga, and he faces much more difficulty. And his understanding, the understanding eventually develops, although he reaches Bhagwan, but he reaches the form of Bhagwan which is not complete. In the sense, the realization of Bhagwan is not complete that he gets. He gets an understanding that the Supreme Reality is a consciousness, but he doesn't realize the personal aspects of that reality. So then Sri Bhagavan also says in the last two shlokas, the sixth and the seventh shloka, that he personally gets involved with the bhakta. That is why it is easier. Why is that? Why is this path easier? It's because Sri Bhagavan personally gets involved with the bhakta and he uplifts him. He does not leave it to the bhakta alone to succeed by his own efforts. He uplifts him and pulls him out of this samsara. The samsara is also compared to an ocean. So ocean of material existence, which is very difficult to get over or get across. But when Sri Bhagavan personally lifts the bhakta out of it, then it becomes easy. It becomes very simple and easy. So this is how Sri Bhagavan encourages us to adopt the path of bhakti, come to the path of bhakti. So having said all this, what does Sri Bhagavan say next? That is what we're going to see today in the next 5 shlokas. So I'll now go to shloka number 8. In shloka 8, Sri Bhagavan says, Mayyeva mana adhatsva, mayi buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasi mayyeva, ata urdhvam na samshayaha. Mayyeva mana adhatsva, mayi buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasi mayyeva, ata urdhvam na samshayaha. So Sri Bhagavan says that Mayi eva mana adhatsva. Mayi eva means in me. Mayi eva, only in me. Mana, mind. Adhatsva. Adhatsva means meditate upon or absorb your mind only in me. Absorb your mind. Adhatsva comes from the word dha or dhyana, dharana. Fix your mind, sustain your mind, completely absorb your mind only in me. Mayi buddhim niveshaya. In me, fix your intelligence. Buddhim niveshaya. Niveshanam literally means to enter, to insert. Insert your intelligence into me and fix it inside me. Deposit your intelligence inside me. Okay, so here he says, Mayi buddhim niveshaya. In Vedanta, buddhi is a separate element by itself, but in the philosophy of Nyaya, in the school of Nyaya, buddhi is considered the same as jnana. Buddhi and jnana are the same. So jnana is a property of the Atma. It resides in the Atma. And so if you look at it this through the lens of jnana, the Nyaya philosophy also, then you understand that he's saying, absorb your consciousness fully in me. Jnana also is consciousness, knowledge or consciousness. Absorb your consciousness fully in me. Then what happens? Nivasishyasi mayyeva. You will reside fully in me. Nivasanam or nivasanam means reside. So you will stay inside me. If you do this, then you will always reside in me. Ata urdhvam na samshayaha. There is no doubt about this, or this is beyond doubt. Okay, ata urdhvam na samshaya means this is beyond any doubt. I am telling you this, so there is no doubt. Krishna says that just accept this. Fix your mind inside me, fix your intelligence inside me. By doing that, you will reside in me, and there is no doubt beyond this. So he's trying to say that this is the perfection that I want you to have. This is the perfection of life. If you live like this, then there is nothing higher to obtain beyond this. Situate your mind only in me and absorb your intelligence in me. You will reside only in me. This is beyond doubt. Okay? So having said this, now what does he say? He says, atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayi sthiram abhyasa yogena tato mamichhaptum dhananjaya. So if Arjuna, for example, says that, Krishna, what you said, I believe you, but it is not so easy. It is not very easy to do what you said, to keep my mind fully inside you and reside in you. How will I live in this world if I do that? Okay, of course, one can live in the world like that, but Arjuna may think it is difficult to do that. So Krishna says, okay, if you cannot do that, he says, atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayi sthiram. Means suppose you say that you cannot fix your mind steadily in me. Chittam means mind, samadhatum means to hold or to deposit and position. Na shaknoshi, not capable. Mayi, in me, sthiram, steadily. Okay, it's if you say that you are not capable of positioning your mind, fixing your mind steadily in me, then what? Then abhyasa yoge na tato mamichya aptum dhananjaya. He says, by doing abhyasa yoga, try to think about me or try to desire to attain me. Practice abhyasa yoga. So, what is meant by abhyasa yoga? By abhyasa yoga, what he means is repeatedly try to fix your mind in me by whatever means. So, there are different means by which we meditate on Bhagavan. For example, through doing Sankirtana, through doing japa. Okay. In that way, we try to draw our mind, for example, by chanting the name of Bhagavan, like we chanted now the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So this is called Abhyasa Yoga, doing repetitive activity to try to fix your mind on Bhagavan. So in this way, although you naturally cannot fix the mind, naturally the mind does not think of Bhagavan, by doing this practice, you try to bring the mind to Bhagavan, try to bring your intelligence to Bhagavan. So by doing this, what happens? We train the mind. The mind is trainable. It is an object that can be trained. So we train the mind to think of Bhagavan, to bring thoughts about him, so that even when we are not doing japa, the mind will continue to think of it. It will remember him every now and then, even in the time that we are not doing that Sankirtana or the japa or dhyana, whatever. Okay, so this is called Abhyasa Yoga. So he says, if you cannot fix the mind like the way I told you in the last shloka, all the time in me, then do this. Do the practice of dhyan, do the practice of thinking about me by repetitive, committed sadhana. That's called repetitive, deliberate sadhana. Sadhana done deliberately to think about it. Okay, it is just like in any other field, people do deliberate practice. In the field of music, if somebody is trying to learn music, they will repeatedly, sing a particular line according to the way their guru has taught them. Okay, sing or play an instrument. Repeatedly, they will do the same piece again and again and again, by which their vocal cords or their singing ability will develop inside. So that when they have to perform somewhere later, automatically it comes. They don't have to worry. Automatically and smoothly, it will emerge from their mouth. So, in the same way, in sports, we see people practicing. In any art form, we see people practicing. And even in academics, when people are preparing for an exam, they may have to memorize certain things. They want to remember certain things so that in the exam time, they don't have to struggle much. Immediately, that thing will come to their mind, whatever they require to answer the question. So, deliberate practice is what is being mentioned here. So, atha chittam samadhatum na shaknoshi mayi sthiram abhyasa yoge na tato mamichhaptum dhananjaya. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya. Dhananjaya means this name came to Arjuna because there was a point of time in his life when he was asked to go and bring wealth to perform the Rajasuya Yajna for Yudhishthira. So he goes to different kingdoms and he finds wealth and he brings it. He brings that wealth to the kingdom so that that Rajasuya Yajna can be conducted. So, O Dhananjaya, the winner of wealth, if you are unable to situate your mind steadily in me, then aim to attain me through repetitive practice, also called Abhyasa Yoga. Okay, now Arjuna may say that, oh Krishna, this also is not easy for me because I am involved in so many activities. I am a Kshatriya, I am a king. Or somebody else may say, look, I am working in a job. I'm an academic, or I am employed in a company. So this also doesn't look so easy. Can you give me some alternative? Krishna says, don't worry. Abhyasepya samarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madarthamapi karmani kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. Abhyasepi asamarthosi. So if you think that you are not capable of doing even what I just told you, Abhyasa Yoga, asamarthaha means incapable, then mat karma paramo bhava. Mat karma means my activities, activities connected to me. Mat karma paramaha. Paramaha means one who is devoted to. There are two ways in which this word parama is understood. Mat karma parama, one who is devoted to my activities, doing activities which are related to me, which have some connection to me. That is one understanding. The other understanding is one who considers my activities to be parama. Parama means supreme, means one who thinks that the best activities they can do are my activities. So they are doing their normal life activities like going to the office, coming back, going for shopping with their family, buying something for the house, whatever normal life activities are, they do those. But they also know that, or they also think that the activities which are directly connected to me, they are the supreme activities, and they look forward to doing them. They set aside some time to do those activities also. So that is also a meaning of mat karma paramaha. Mat karma paramo bhava. So he says, madharthamapi karmani. By doing activities related to me, kurvan siddhim avapsyasi. So by doing such activities, you will get perfection, siddhi. Siddhim avapsyasi means you will get perfection. Okay. So if you cannot do Abhyasa Yoga, the deliberate practice like doing japa, meditation, and so on, that requires a greater level of commitment, mental, sacrifice of your mental energies for one particular activity, a certain discipline. Okay, then at least do this. Mat karma paramaha. Become mat karma paramaha. So now the question comes, what is mat karma? What are the activities other than doing Abhyasa Yoga, which are related to Krishna? There are so many activities of sadhana bhakti which are given in the Shastra. For example, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sri Rupa Goswami lists 64 different activities. In the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sanatan Goswami, he lists a lot of other activities as well. So activities like, for example, visiting a temple, okay, going to a temple of Bhagavan and offering to do some seva in the temple. So in the temple, you will see so many activities going on. People are, for example, uh, sewing garlands for offering to the deity. Okay, some people are cleaning the temple. Some people are feeding the cows in the temple. Some people are distributing the prasadam in the temple to other bhaktas who come there. Okay, so in any temple you go, you will see that a lot of different activities happen in the temple, and somebody who cannot do Abhyasa Yoga also may find it not so difficult to do those kind of activities. They may go there, let's say 2 or 3 times a week, maybe in the morning before they go to office, or before they go to the temple in the evening after they come back from office, or on the weekends when they have more time, they have a holiday the whole weekend. They can go there and they can spend the day, half a day in the temple doing various kinds of seva. Okay, if you go to any temple, you will find such people who are not employed in the temple. They are not the priests in the temple, nor do they live in the temple. They are people like you and me. They are working somewhere. They have a family, but they also spare some time and they do some seva in the temple. So by doing that, they develop a connection with Bhagavan. They think of Bhagavan as somebody who is important in their life, and they sacrifice their time and their energy and their effort, and they manage to do this activities which are connected to Bhagavan. So this is a simple example of mat karma paramaha. Okay, and there could be many other examples also. For example, somebody may say that I will stitch clothes for the deity. Okay, if they have that skill in them, they may decide to stitch some clothes for the deity of the temple and they may go and offer it there. Okay, or somebody else may say that I will help in the printing of books. For example, somebody may say that I can't do any of these things, but I can go and help somebody who is, let's say, printing books and distributing those books which are about Bhagavan, like Gita, Bhagavatam, or other Shastra. So I will do those kind of activities. So by examining all the different options given in the Shastra, there could be 100 different things that somebody can choose from, which they can engage themselves in and therefore bring Bhagavan into their life. Okay. So Sri Bhagavan gives this as the next option. He says that if you cannot do Abhyasa Yoga, if you cannot do deliberate practice of meditating on me, then at least think of this, because even by doing this, you can get perfection, which is my pure bhakti. You can come to my pure bhakti even by doing this. If you are unable to do even repetitive practice, then devote yourself to activities related to me. You will attain perfection even by doing activities related to me. Okay, now let's say Arjuna or somebody else says that Krishna, I tried to do this, but I'm somehow not developing the attraction towards you, which requires me to do this. I'm finding this a little awkward. Can you give me one more alternative by which I can eventually come to you? So then Sri Bhagavan says in the next shloka, Ataithadyapyashaktosi kartum madyogamashritah sarvakarma phalatyagam tatah kuru yatatmavan. Ataithadyapyashaktosi kartum madyogamashritah sarvakarma phalatyagam tatah kuru yatatmavan. So now Sri Bhagavan says that I've given you three options by which you can do bhakti yoga, but if you're not able to do even the third one, which I told you just now, then do Nishkama Karma Yoga. Nishkama Karma Yoga is an alternative, which is also yoga. It is very pure, it purifies you, and it elevates you to a very high level of consciousness. And eventually, by doing that, you may develop attraction towards Bhakti Yoga. So he says, Athaitadyapyashaktosi, if you cannot do even this, even what I just told you now, which is my activities which will bring you into Bhakti Yoga, then Sarva Karma Phalatyagam. This is the essence of Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga. That is Karma Phala. Nishkama Karma Yoga means what? We do our respective duties, our karma. Whatever our duties are, we do them, but we do them with detachment from the fruits of those activities. Whatever the results are, it's not that we don't focus on them. Okay, one doubt which comes when we talk about Karma Yoga, this is a very common doubt, that if I don't want those fruits, then how will I ever do it? Because until I focus on the fruits, I won't have the sense of direction about what to do, and I won't feel the motivation to do it. Then the work will become very boring for me. So unless I really focus on the result that will come, I won't be able to do it. Then what is the use of doing this? So Karma Yoga seems to be confusing because of this doubt. But no, there is no confusion at all. So Krishna is not saying, when he says be detached from the fruits, he's not saying don't focus on the results. Focusing is different, being detached is different. Okay, focusing means you know that this is where you have to go. So you keep your mind on that goal. You remind yourself that this is the goal of the activity I'm doing. For example, you are writing a paper, let's say. Since many of the people who attend this lecture are either doctoral scholars or faculty members, so they will understand this example very well. Let's say that we have to publish a paper as part of our duty as academics. So while writing the paper, we need to have a very clear goal, that this is what is the aim of this paper. This is what I'm trying to establish by writing this paper. This is the literature I'm referring to. Everything should be clear in our mind, and with a lot of clarity and with a clear goal in mind, with a deadline also in mind, we write that paper. Okay. Then what is meant by being detached? Aren't we becoming attached to the paper if we have a goal and everything? Not at all. Detachment means that we become attached to something higher. Okay. Now, before I talk about detachment, let me make this very clear that it is impossible to have detachment from everything in existence. Absolute detachment is impossible for the Jivatma. We are Jivatmas. We have to be attached to something. So, to become detached from one thing, we have to develop an attachment to something else. Okay. Now, let me give you an example to make this very clear. Let's say that you're traveling by train from Tata Nagar, Jamshedpur to Delhi. Okay, Rajdhani Express. You decided to go by Rajdhani Express, which takes about 24 hours to go. So you get into the train, you have booked a second AC ticket, and you get into the train, and it's a beautiful train, and the compartment is so clean, and there is also service by by the people in the catering. The IRCTC catering will give you good service there. The train is so clean, everything is so nice, and you go and sit there. Now, suppose you develop a love for that train and you like it so much. The journey, the train is so smoothly traveling, the scenery outside is so good that now the train reaches Delhi and you don't want to leave it. You want to be there itself, right? And then somebody comes there after some time and says, "Sir, Delhi पहुंच गया, आप उतर जाइए." You say, "नहीं, मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, मेरे को यहाँ यहीं यहीं रहना है, बहुत अच्छा लगता है इधर." Okay? Now that means you have become attached to that train. Okay? So you don't want to leave from there. Then they will forcibly leave you. They'll think something is wrong with you, and then they will get some two other people will come and they'll hold your hand, they'll pick your luggage, and they will put you on the platform. And then the train will go to its yard, right? So what does that situation show? It shows that you have become so attached to the train, you like it so much that you don't want to leave it now. So now look at this. You got into the train, you had a goal while getting into the train that you have to go to Delhi, but instead of thinking about the goal and then following that goal, you instead got into the business of you became a part of the train and you became attached to it. So actually, what should you have been attached to? You should have been attached to the work that you will do in Delhi after going there. You're going there for a purpose. And that is where the attachment should be. If you're really attached to that, then the moment the train reaches Delhi, you will just get down. You will not think a second option. You will not think twice that the train has come. You will even forget after a few minutes. You will forget that you were on the train because you will be in a cab and you will be going to the hotel or your relative's place where you're staying. Right? That is detachment. So because you're attached to something different, you are not attached to the train in that case. So this is the meaning of being attached to something else and not being attached to what you are not supposed to be attached to. So now let's bring it to the context of doing our activities karma. And what is the other goal, the higher goal that we should be attached to, by which the fruits of the activities, the particular goal of the work itself does not become our attachment. And that is the supreme realization. Karma yoga, that is why it's called yoga. When you start the process of karma yoga, you know that you're doing yoga. Yoga means what? Connecting with the supreme. Your purpose of getting into karma yoga is not the karma itself. The karma there is only a mechanism for you to reach the supreme. And so by doing the karma sincerely, but with the attachment to that goal of reaching that supreme, you want the realization of the supreme. That is your goal. So thinking in the back of your mind or at the top of your mind, the thinking is that if I do my duties very sincerely and offer all the results, the fruits of my activity to Bhagavan, okay, that is karma yoga. Karma yoga is sarva karma phala tyagam. So tyagam means renunciation or giving up. Now giving up means to whom are you giving it? To Bhagavan. In the third chapter also he says that offer the fruits of all activities to me. That is how karma yoga is practiced. Nishkama karma yoga means giving up the activities. Giving up to whom? To Bhagavan. So you do the activities with a clear focus on the goal, and the results which come, you say these results don't belong to me. Sarvam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Okay, you must have heard this phrase. This phrase is often repeated in our yajnas also. When we do ceremonies, at the end of it we say Sarvam Krishna Arpanamastu. Let everything, all the fruits of all the activities I've done, all the punya I get, or all the money I get, whatever I get from this activity, it doesn't belong to me, it belongs to Krishna. I will only take what I need for my subsistence. Minimum that I need for my subsistence I'll take, and I'll give everything else to Bhagavan. That is karma yoga. So by doing this, what happens by doing this? By doing this tyaga, renunciation or giving up the fruits with clear detachment and with strong attachment to the higher goal, the goal of realizing the supreme, our consciousness becomes purified. All yoga is about purification of consciousness. Our thoughts become purified. Our mind becomes calm. All the desires which are binding us to this world, all the desires which are the cause of our suffering in this world, they subside. And our attachment to Bhagavan starts developing. Okay, even though it's not there at the start of Karma Yoga, at the start of Karma Yoga, the only thought is, I should become spiritually realized. I should realize that jnana, that supreme knowledge. That is the motivation at the starting point. But as Karma Yoga proceeds and the mind becomes purified more and more and more, one starts becoming slowly conscious of that supreme reality. And that is why it is said that after one reaches a certain level of progress in Karma Yoga, then one becomes eligible to give up one's activities because one has developed sufficient detachment from the fruits of the activities. Not detachment from the activity itself. The activity is one's duty. So one does one's duty with a sense of conscientiousness. One is very, very conscientious. One does not compromise on the quality of one's work. One is very sincere, but one is detached from the fruits. So one becomes so detached from the fruits, one does not want anything for oneself. One is doing one's work only for that purpose. And thereby, one becomes eligible to give up one's work. That's the advanced stage of Karma Yoga. So in the sixth chapter of Bhagavad-gita, Sri Bhagavan tells that Arurukshur Muner Yogam Karma Karanam Uchyate Karma Yoga Rudasya Tasyaiva Shamaha Karanam Uchyate. Once one reaches a certain level of advancement in Karma Yoga, one becomes eligible to give up activities and begin the process of Dhyana Yoga or Jnana Yoga. In that process of Jnana Yoga, one does Dhyan on that supreme consciousness. One becomes eligible to do that Dhyan. Until that point, one is not eligible. One develops the level of Sattva. Sattva Guna develops by doing Karma Yoga. Sattva Guna develops. One becomes free from Rajoguna, Tamoguna to a good extent. And when one develops that Sattva, then one becomes eligible for Jnana Yoga. And so Sri Bhagavan says, if you cannot do my bhakti, if you don't develop the Shraddha in my bhakti, bhakti requires some level of Shraddha. So he says, Sarva karma phalatyagam tataha kuru yatatmavan. Here, the word yatatmavan means it's an essential requirement in Karma Yoga that one should be uh, disciplined. One's senses and mind should be kept under control. One cannot live a loose life. Okay, yatatmavan is a person whose mind and senses are kept in moderation. Of course, one does not go to the other extreme and say that I will stop eating everything or I will eat only bland food. Okay, I'll eat only khichdi every day, morning khichdi, afternoon khichdi, night khichdi. If one does that, then Karma Yoga also will stop. Nothing will happen. One will have to be hospitalized after some time because one will mentally become mad. That's not possible. So Yatatmavan does not mean that. It doesn't mean controlling the senses, doesn't mean chopping everything off and becoming an extremist. No, not at all. It means becoming very moderate. Okay, it just means abstaining from being loose. Okay, very often we see looseness in our life. We see that we indulge in something recklessly. We don't think of time, we don't think of place. Okay, that recklessness goes away. We become disciplined. We become conscious of what we eat, when we eat, how much we eat, how we mix different things, what time we sleep, how much we sleep, what time we get up. We become disciplined and regulated. And then life becomes much more enjoyable. Actually, I sometimes cite this runner. There's a famous runner by name Kipchoge, because I'm also an amateur runner. I sometimes come across this quote. So he says, discipline is the way to freedom. Discipline is real freedom. Okay, so discipline actually gives freedom and happiness. It looks counterintuitive. This is counterintuitive because what does the word discipline normally make us think of? Discipline is something that we don't want, right? We want to be relaxed. We think discipline is stressful. Discipline means going under stress. It's something to be avoided. And therefore, I will let go, everything. Once I retire, I will let go and I'll just go live somewhere. So we think absence of discipline is freedom. No. Discipline is the way to freedom. Discipline, actually, the person who is disciplined is more free than the person who is not disciplined. And that is what Karma Yoga teaches us. Karma Yoga makes us very disciplined. And thereby, Sattva Guna develops in us. And by development of Sattva Guna, happiness starts coming inside. So, as an alternative to Bhakti Yoga is the highest form of yoga. But if Sri Bhagavan, as Sri Bhagavan says, he gave three options, three levels at which Bhakti Yoga can be done. Fix your mind perfectly in me. Okay, that's difficult. Okay, then the next level, do deliberate practice to fix your mind. Even that is difficult. Then do my activities like I told you. But no, Krishna, even that is difficult. Okay, then do Karma Yoga. By doing Karma Yoga, you will start experiencing the Sattva. And then maybe one day you will develop attraction towards my Bhakti. And then you can come to Bhakti. So, if you are unable to do Bhakti Yoga to attain me even in that way, then keeping your mind and senses under control, renounce the fruits of all your actions, by offering them unto me. So now in the last shloka for today, the 12th shloka, Sri Bhagavan again, sums up the importance of karma yoga, because for many people, uh, bhakti yoga is not a natural attraction. Bhakti yoga requires a certain kind of attraction towards the deity. Okay, so I've had some students even telling me, sir, you talk about bhakti yoga, I'm fine with hearing about it, but I'm not able to develop that faith. For me, I think karma yoga is what will work. Okay, some student has told me this. So I can understand very much, for many people, karma yoga is the most natural thing. So Sri Bhagavan also knows that. So in the 12th shloka, he further praises the importance of karma yoga. So he says, Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat, jnanat dhyanam vishishyate, dhyanat karma phalatyagah, tyagat shantiranantaram. श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानात् ध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः त्यागात् शान्तिरनन्तरम्. So he takes a very sympathetic stand here, and he says he's referring to multiple words here. He says jnanam, abhyasam, and then dhyanam, and then karmaphalatyaga. Four things he's referring to, and he's talking about hierarchy in them, superiority. One is better than the other. So what does he mean by that? Let's have a look. So he says abhyasa, which he just referred to when he was talking about bhakti yoga. Abhyasa means deliberate practice, repetitive practice to fix one's mind on Bhagavan. He says if one does that, if one does abhyasa, then one will get parabhakti, supreme form of bhakti or pure bhakti, and that will give shanti, perfection. But if one is unable to do that, if abhyasa is not working for that, then one can at least aim to have pure jnana. Okay, jnana here in this shloka means the realization of one's spiritual self, the realization that one is a jivatma, different from the body, and one is pure consciousness, filled with happiness, conscious, happy, full of knowledge, free from material misery. That realization that I am that, I don't have to worry, there's nothing to worry. Okay, developing that through sattva guna, that realization becomes very strong. So he says, if one is not able to do abhyas, if abhyas is not working in their life, then at least let them think that they should develop jnana, and that jnana is a better state for them. I would advise them to do it. Okay? But let us say that jnana is not there. That jnana is not naturally there because we are conditioned. We are actually in the state, attached to so many things. Our attachments exist. We are born with attachment. We grow up with attachment. We develop new attachments. So naturally, jnana doesn't emerge. We are not conscious of our own jnana. Then he says, do dhyan. If that is not there, dhyan is better for you. Dhyan is better for you. And what is dhyan in this context? Dhyan, he means contemplate on oneself. This is jnana yoga. This is the path of jnana yoga where one develops, a certain level of sattva and then sits and contemplates. I am that Brahman. I am Brahman. I am not this. I am not this table. I am not this world. I am not that food. This food is not me. That fan is not me. This enjoyment is not me. So I am pure Atma. This kind of a denial of the world or rejection of the material world and absorption in the spiritual self. Okay, this is a central element of Jnana Yoga. And this is possible, this dhyana is possible for one who is in a certain level of sattva. So he says, if you don't already have that jnana, then please do this dhyana. But if you cannot do that also, then he says, sarva karma phalatyaga, karma yoga. Do nishkama karma yoga. Do your activities sincerely and offer your fruits to me. So he says, shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat. Jnana is better than abhyasa. But if that is not possible, jnanat dhyanam vishishyate. Dhyana is better than jnana. Dhyanat karma phalatyagaha. If dhyana also is not possible for you, then karma phalatyaga, sarva karma phalatyaga, dhyanat karma phalatyaga. Why? Because tyagat shantiranantaram. Eventually, by doing karma phalatyaga, one will eventually go to shanti. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. Don't lose hope. Okay, just because I told you that bhakti yoga is the supreme form of yoga, but you are not able to do it, don't lose hope, don't become dejected, don't become frustrated. Karma Yoga also is very much a potent, very powerful method. Why? Because Karma Yoga eventually leads to the same Shanti which I am talking about in Bhakti Yoga. By doing Karma Yoga, one can go to that level of Dhyan, ability to do Dhyan, and then one can go to Jnana, and eventually one can get Paramatma Jnana. And from Paramatma Jnana, one can possibly get Parabhakti. And that Bhakti will eventually lead to Shanti. Okay? So I've drawn a map here just to explain how this particular shloka is without the help of an acharya's explanation, it is not easy to understand this particular shloka, the 12th shloka of the 12th chapter. So I studied the commentary of Sri Baladeva Vidyabhushana. It's called the Gita Bhushana Bhashya. So based on that Bhashya, this shloka's Bhashya, I developed this diagram to explain how Sri Bhagavan is very sympathetically saying that uh, take resort to Karma Yoga if you are not able to take shelter of Bhakti Yoga. Please do Karma Yoga, and then you will achieve the same goal that Bhakti Yoga will eventually give you. Don't worry about it. Okay, so this is a compassionate stand that he takes. So going back to the shloka, Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat jnanat dhyanam vishishyate dhyanat karma phala tyagaha tyagat shantiranantaram. Better than the unsuccessful repetitive practice to fix one's mind on me, abhyas, is realized knowledge of the self, jnana. And better than the unmaterialized knowledge of the self, jnana, is meditating on the spiritual self, dhyana. And even better than the unsuccessful meditation on one's spiritual self, dhyana, is renouncing the fruits of one's activities, sarva karma phala tyaga. Because by such renunciation, by the tyaga, eventually one is able to achieve the permanent freedom from material existence or shanti or even parabhakti. Okay, so this is the 12th shloka of the 12th chapter, and for today we will stop with this. I would just like to add that the 12th chapter is about bhakti, which Sri Bhagavan repeatedly points out in other chapters also as the best way to connect with him, the best form of yoga, leading to the highest fruit of spiritual realization, which is pure bhakti, sweet bhakti. And bhakti is something that is advocated for the Kali Yuga. It is said that other than bhakti, other paths are more difficult to follow. It is only if one is not able to develop that Shraddha, that particular conviction required to do bhakti, that one can actually take shelter of another path like karma yoga, dhyana yoga, jnana yoga, etc. Otherwise, one should practice bhakti. And there are so many examples of acharyas who practiced bhakti, who are inspiration for us. And today I will narrate to you a small story of uh, a famous saint who lived in Bengal by name Sri Haridas Thakur. He was also called Haridas. And he was known also as Namacharya. He was a companion of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Haridas was a saint who was by age older. He appeared in this world before Mahaprabhu appeared. So he was attached to doing japa of Bhagavan. So it's interesting to mention that he was actually born in a Muslim family. He was born a Muslim. There's also another version of this story which says that he was not born a Muslim, he was born to Brahmin parents, Hindu Brahmin parents. But they died at a very young age. When he was very young, they passed away. And so then there was a Muslim family which was very closely connected to this Brahmin family, which was their family friends. And so they adopted the child and they brought it up in their household. So Haridas then grew up in the Muslim household. So whichever is true, whether he was born in that family or he was adopted by the family after being born in a Brahmin family, regardless of that, from a very small child, maybe when he was a small baby itself, he was brought up in the Muslim household. So he grew up as a Muslim, practically as a Muslim. But even at a very young age, he developed attraction towards the name of Krishna, to chanting the name of Krishna. So he would start chanting the name of Krishna, different names of Krishna, and the Hare Krishna mantra also, which we chanted today. So he would go on chanting. He became very attached to it. He developed a very deep attachment to it. And so he would sit and chant it repeatedly. So when he grew up and he became a youth, he left his house and he started looking for the company of Vaishnavas, the people who are devoted to. Here, Vaishnava means not a community. I'm not referring to the social community called Vaishnavas, because in India, all over India, in different parts of India, there are social communities called as Vaishnavas. So I'm not referring to that. I'm referring to anybody who is devoted to Vishnu. That's called a Vaishnava. So he became interested in the company of living with Vaishnavas. So he looked for a place and he came to Shantipur in Bengal. There's a big town called Shantipur, which is close to Navadvip, the Nadia district. So he came there and he became a associate of Advaita Acharya. There was an Acharya there called Advaita Acharya, who was a great scholar and also an associate of Mahaprabhu. So he became associated with him and he started living with him. So around that time, what happened? There was, because that time Bengal was under Muslim rule. There was a Nawab ruling Bengal, and it's there in the history books also how this Muslim rule dominated over Bengal until the British took over. The Muslims, the Muslim kings and Nawabs and others, they ruled there. So all over the Muslim dominion was present. So there was a Qazi there in that town who was advocating Islam, and he saw that this person, this little boy, this young boy, had become very popular. He had become very popular, and a lot of people were coming to him and seeking his blessings and taking advice from him. And he was actually inspiring other people also to chant the names of Krishna, do Harinam Japa. So a lot of people, including Muslims, would go to him and they would get inspired and they would start chanting the name of Krishna. So this Qazi, Muslim Qazi, he became very alarmed, and he was even further alarmed that this fellow was brought up as a Muslim. He grew up in a Muslim household. He's a Muslim. But how come he is now chanting? He's become a Hindu by practice. How can he do that? First of all, Muslim religion, sometimes, we hear that they think that other religions should not exist. But even when they are able to live with other people, they cannot tolerate that somebody of their own religion has now become part of some other religion. So this Qazi could not simply tolerate that. So he came to Haridas and he said, "What are you doing? I will complain about you." So when he saw that Haridas was not willing to listen to him, he goes to the local, the tax the collector of that place, who's a Muslim tax collector and who's authority there, administrative authority, and he says, "Look, you must do something. Otherwise, this Haridas will destroy us. He's become mad. He's going on chanting the names of Krishna, and even other Hindus don't do that, but he's doing it. And he's creating a religion of his own. He's creating so many followers and he's becoming so popular. You must do something." So that collector immediately he summons Haridas and he says, "Come here. I want to ask you, what are you doing?" So he tells him, "This is what is happening." So he says, "Look, you must not do this. You must actually do the chanting of the Muslim, the chants like La ilaha illallah, Muhammadar Rasulullah. All these Muslim chants are very popular, right? So do that. Don't chant all this Krishna's name and all that. That's not part of our religion. We don't accept it." So then Haridas replies to him. He says that, "See, great man, I respect you. I respect your words. And all of this, actually, there's only one God. And the Hindus, they call it Puran. The Muslims call it Quran. Okay, so Puran or Quran, they all talk about God only. It doesn't matter. We should go by what we are attracted to. Somebody may be attracted to chanting the names of Allah. Let him chant Allah's name. Somebody is attracted to Krishna. Let him chant Krishna's name. I am attracted to Krishna, so I will chant Krishna's name. It doesn't matter. Just let me be what I am. Just leave me." So then the collector becomes angry. He says, "I am ordering you. If you don't do it, I will inflict severe punishment upon you." So to him, Haridas replies, he says, "Even if you kill me, even if my body is broken to a million pieces, I will not stop chanting the names of Krishna. This is my life." He says this. So then the collector is shocked when he hears this reply. Nobody talks to him like that. So he says, "Let us see." He says, "If you're really a saint, I will now give you a punishment. And if you're able to survive my punishment, then I will know that you really are a saint. Let me see if you are." So Haridas keeps quiet. So this collector calls his people, and he calls the police, whatever Muslim police were there. He says that, "Now take this guy and beat him up in 22 different marketplaces. Okay, so this is the Muslim way of punishing. We know that even today it's there, right? In some very hard extremist countries, they do stoning, they do beating, public flogging or stoning. That's a common practice. So he says, take this guy and beat him up in marketplaces in the public. In public, you put him in the center of the market and beat him up and flog him in 22 different marketplaces until he dies. And then you come back to me and tell me. Okay. So they do that. They take him and one by one, they take him to 22 different marketplaces and they flog him in public. Okay. And each time they flog him, all that he does, he calls out Krishna's name. Okay. Very similar to, you can think how Draupadi was calling out, or how you can say Prahlad, when Prahlad was thrown by the Asuras into those pots of oil, and they're thrown into the fire and thrown into the pit of the elephants and so on, how he's calling out Krishna's name. And Haridas, he prays loudly. He calls out, he says, please forgive them. They don't know what they are doing. They are mad. Because he knows that if somebody offends a bhakta of God, that person will go to the worst hell. He will suffer. Okay, he will get the worst punishment. The worst karma will come to him. So Haridas knows that, and he feels a lot of compassion even when they're coming to beat him. He says, please forgive them, Krishna. Don't take any action on them. Let them go. They don't know what they are doing. Out of innocence, they're doing this. They are just ignorant people. So he keeps praying like this, and they keep flogging him. And 22 places they flog him. And eventually he's lying there unconscious. He's been flogged, he's unconscious. And they lift him on their neck, and they take his body and they take it to the collector, and they tell him that now we have done whatever you said. Now please tell us what do you want to do. Here is the body of this guy. So the collector, he sees him and he thinks that now this fellow has died. Nobody can survive that kind of flogging. So they say, just take and throw the body in the Ganga. And then we'll forget about this. Our job is done. So they go, like he said, they go to the ghat and they throw the body into the Ganga and they come back. And so now, from their point of view, it is over. But a short while after that, they get the news that there is a guy standing at the ghat in this town and he's chanting the names of Krishna loudly. So what happened was Haridas did not die. He was just unconscious. So the moment they throw him into Ganga, his consciousness comes back to normal consciousness, and he comes to the shore. Nothing has happened to him. There is absolutely no injury. Nothing has happened to his body. Just like for Prahlad, when Prahlad went through that torture, he came out alive without any injury, without any marks. He was just safe. So Haridas comes out and he comes on the ghat and he is loudly chanting. He's loudly chanting Krishna's names. He's singing Kirtan and he's chanting. And all the people in the village who knew that punishment was given to him, they're so happy because they were admiring him. They were helpless when the punishment was being given. They didn't know what to do. But now they see him alive and he's singing. They're so delighted. They're so thrilled. So when the collector hears this, the news reaches him and he goes there and sees it. He's completely blown. He's unable to believe what he has seen. So then he realizes that he has made a great mistake. And he falls at the feet of Haridas and he says, please forgive me. Now I realize that you are truly a saint. And like I promised you, if you survive my punishment, I will recognize that you are a saint. And I have now fully recognized that. And I beg your forgiveness. Please forgive me. And whatever offense I have done to you, please bless me that I will not have any suffering because of that. So Haridas, obviously out of compassion, he blesses him. He says that don't worry, nothing will happen to you. Please go back. You did not know what you were doing. Out of ignorance, you did this. You go back. So he's left. He lets him go. So this is one of the episodes in Haridas's life, and I will tell you a few more episodes. There are 2, 3 more episodes which show his nature. He was a very famous personality in Bengal in that time, in the 16th century. This happened in the 16th century Bengal, early part of the 16th century. And later on his life, he lived till the middle of the 16th century. So 15th and 16th centuries. And Odisha, after Bengal, he went to Puri with Mahaprabhu, and he lived in Puri for the last part of his life, and he passed away in Puri. So I will tell you some more episodes in the next class because we already have taken up a lot of time. So I will stop with this for today, and I will want to hear your questions and comments.
So no question from my side. Just when you mentioned the great marathon runner Kikuchi, he mentioned about vitamin N, like the ability to say no so that the distractions are less. Is good.
Yeah, right, correct. As you're thinking of a question, let me just add to whatever I said today that bhakti is a very easy process, and I'm thinking of compiling a list of practices that anyone can do. Anybody who is interested in bringing bhakti into their life can easily do those practices. It doesn't require too much going out of the way from our normal life. Like I have said in earlier classes too, the path of bhakti involves not giving up something in a big way, but bringing something big into our life, and that is bringing Bhagavan into our life, understanding Him, realizing Him, and connecting personally with Him, and slowly over time, feeling His presence in our life. Uh, so, bhakti is that, and I'm compiling some list of practices which anyone can do, and slowly over the next sessions as we go forward, I'll share those things with you. And anybody who wants to introduce bhakti into their life can connect with me on a personal basis too, and I will explain how they can do it. Okay, already some of you are doing it, like reading Bhagavatam, for example, or doing japa. So these are all simple practices and they make a big difference as you do them. Small things achieve big results.
Pranam, sir.
Pranam, pranam, Sarthak.
Sir, so you said that we should build discipline and we should consume in moderation. My question is, do you have some practical tips so that we can improve our discipline in life? How
There
to
are,
better take control of,
yeah,
yes, how to be in control.
yeah. For example, there are very simple practices that people in bhakti do, and actually, these are not unique to bhakti itself. They are part of our samskriti. Even those who are not doing bhakti, or even for that matter, even karma yoga, people who are just living a life of dharma, people who are just living a life of samskriti, good culture, even they do this. And this is things like getting up very early in the morning, going to bed early at night. You see, this is part of our samskriti for the simple reason that our cycle, the bodily cycle, synchronizes with the cycle of the sun. When the sun gets up, that's the best time to get up. All our systems, the prana system in the body, that becomes active when the sun gets up sun rises in the morning, and it starts becoming weak after sunset. So a simple practice like getting up early in the morning, just before sunrise, let's say one or two muhurtas before sunrise during Brahma Muhurta, makes a huge difference. Now, naturally, to do that, one has to go to bed much earlier than we currently do. Okay, currently, some of us might be going to bed at 12:30 in the night or 1 o'clock in the night. We may be sitting up and studying something or watching TV. So instead of doing it in the night, why can't we do it in the early morning? Okay, it will be actually much more productive. For example, studying may be very productive if we get up at 4 o'clock and do it instead of doing it at 11 o'clock in the night. Do it at 4 o'clock by going to bed at 9:30. Go to bed at 9 or 9:30, wake up at 4 o'clock or 4:30, and wash your face and immediately start studying. So in that condition, when the mind is completely rested and fresh, our concentration is much, much better. Okay, so I'm just giving you a very simple example. Similarly, while eating food, uh, it was a practice in our culture not to eat after sunset. Okay, many people even today do it. And in recent times, I have also started doing it. Earlier, also, I used to talk about it, but now I've started doing that. After, say, about 6:30 in the evening, that's about sunset time, I don't consume anything. I consume water or maybe at most some juice, light juice, or a small piece of vegetable if there is really hunger. Okay. My last meal would be 5:30. Sometimes my last major meal is at 2:30 in the afternoon. And after that last major meal, I would just take in the evening, if I take anything, it would be a juice or something, maybe around 6:30, or a piece of fruit like a mango. around 5:36, have something, and then I just go. And I found in my life, I'm just sharing my personal experience, that it has made a big difference. My quality of sleep has improved. I'm sleeping much better once I started doing this. And when I get up in the morning, my breathing, I feel, has become much better. I'm able to breathe much more smoothly. I mean, not that I had any breathing problems, but whatever it was, it has become better. And I feel more clarity. So this practice is not a major practice. I'm not giving up anything. I'm not starving myself, or I'm not doing any major sacrifice in life. It's just a shifting of the way I'm doing it. Just shifting from one time to another time. And those things actually are simple practices that bhakti can benefit from. And in addition to this, there are specific bhakti practices like japa and reading the shastra, uh, observing vratas. These are all very important practices of bhakti, observing Ekadashi, observing Janmashtami, reciting shlokas from the Gita and the Bhagavatam. Listening to Bhagavatam is a major practice of bhakti, which makes a big difference, just like japa does. So I will compile a more complete list in the coming days, and then I will share with all of you.
Sir, so what happens many times is that I know that I should follow a disciplined lifestyle, as in go to bed early and wake up early, and inculcate some other good habits too. But what happens is, even if I know I should do that, but I'm not able to follow it all the time. So there may be cases wherein I slack. There are some times when I am able to follow it. So I wanted to know if there are some tricks wherein we can, I mean, instead of relying only on willpower, we are able to bring it into habits. I mean, inculcate these good habits like going to bed early and waking up early.
One very simple trick. See, some ways we have to trick our minds sometimes. So, for example, one trick could be that comes to my mind is fix something for the morning. Like, for example, you say that tomorrow I will see the sunrise. I want to see the sun when it comes up. Okay, now you are staying in Kolkata, right? Now, in Kolkata, being part of East India, the sunrise now in the summer time is around 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, it'll be somewhere between 5 and 5:15. So if you have to see the sunrise, then probably you can't see it from your bedroom. You may have to go outside your house to some convenient spot where you have to wait for the sun to come out, right? Where you can see the horizon and wait for the sun to go to see the red ball. The red ball is visible only when it's coming out of the horizon. After 10 minutes, it becomes yellowish. The redness goes away, right? If you want to see that big red ball coming out, then you have to see it only at that time. So you make a commitment to yourself that I want to see that red ball and fix my eye on that because there's so much benefit in it. So you say, let me do it one day tomorrow and see how it feels. So even if you are going to bed at 1 o'clock that night, let's say you get up at 4:45 and go to that place by 5 o'clock where you can see this thing happening, right? Just get up and go there. That may require you to walk for 100 meters and stand somewhere and see it. But even that small thing is a trick you're doing on the mind to break that cycle of getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning. You got up at 4:45 instead of getting up at 8 o'clock. And so you're broken something, right? Naturally, you will feel sleepy sometime later. Little later, you will feel sleepy. But you have to fight that one day. Then that day you tell that, okay, I will take a small nap in between. I'll take a cat nap somewhere when I'm sitting. I'll tolerate. Maybe I'll take a half an hour nap in the just after breakfast. I'll have breakfast around 8:30 and take a half an hour nap before I go to my office. Depending on your timings, you have to adjust it. And then that night you sleep earlier because you have slept less the previous night. You will naturally feel sleepy a little earlier. So instead of sleeping at 1 o'clock, you sleep at 11 o'clock or 10:45 or whatever time you can get yourself to go to bed. So this is one way by which you trick the mind and you try to break the cycle by fixing something, committing to something at some point of time and making it happen. Or commit to a friend, have an appointment with a friend at that time. Because you're committed to a friend, you have to do it. It'll happen. For me also, sometimes running, when I commit to a friend, I make sure I'm there at that time. That day running will happen properly because a friend is there. On other days, I have to talk to my mind and say, no, karna hi hai. But on that day, I don't have to talk to my mind because I know the friend is waiting. It'll be very embarrassing if I don't go there. So, so commit with the help of somebody else. That is one way to break the cycle. Commit to a temple. Commit to a pujari in a temple that you will come in the morning for that arti and you will give something to him.
Thank you for sharing this, sir. Sir, I had also one more question. So you also said that an important, or rather a very uh, delightful practice is also to listen to Srimad Bhagavatam. So can you suggest some YouTube channels or any other source wherein we can hear to authentic Bhagavatam stories?
Niharika, are you there? Niharika,
Sir. Yes, sir. Namaskaram, sir.
namaskaram. Are you still reading Bhagavatam? You were telling me some time back that you're reading Bhagavatam every day with your mother-in-law.
There is a little pause because of change in school timings for my daughter, but we are resuming shortly.
Okay, okay. So tell us, what were you doing? Sarthak wants to know. What were you doing?
It is little funny actually. I started it some time back because of some podcasts I was listening of various spiritual speakers,
Okay.
commercial spiritual speakers, not the gurus or anybody. And I found little stories very fascinating. So there is one speaker by name Jai Kishori whom I am personally attracted to, I would say. I like the way she talks. So then I heard her full length of 7 days Bhagavatam program that she does. And like that, there are many gurus. Eventually, I saw, because YouTube also gives you similar suggestions. There are a lot of people who do these commercial Bhagavat sessions for 7 days prior. They do it. So this is like 3 hours episode on each day. So slowly during my work commuting, I tried to finish for two gurus. I tried to go through, and I found the stories very fascinating. Broadly, Bhagavatam is a lot of stories, as you know, bhakti stories, bhakti rasas, and lot of things which you naturally get interested in. It's not lot of brain consumption, as in I have to understand and decipher. It is more of actually appreciating God. And then I think we spoke, and then you also suggested that I start reading the original one. So we purchased the original one and started with Sanskrit. And it was funny when we started in Sanskrit, I was very slow. Then we moved to Hindi version, the Hindi translation only. So for me, what helped is two of us reading together. Then me and my mother-in-law read together. There is, so as you said, committing. So now, and I think you also asked, somebody also asked about waking up in the morning. I'm somebody who never woke up for last 15-20 years of my life early. But because my mother-in-law used to wait in the morning with a sharki, now we have to read Bhagavatam and I had to pack tiffin and finish. So I started getting up like 1 hour before, and very small. So we didn't start very big, like we'll complete lot of things. We used to do half an hour of reading and some talking around it. This is, going back, mentioning, discussing some, the way you explain some similar stories, then little words. My mother-in-law, with her knowledge, she'll explain. So it was more of a, engrossing engagement in the morning. And eventually it became a habit because it had an extremely positive effect on my entire day. So I'm in a sales job and a very high stress job, but the day used to start and the day used to go so well that I was looking forward to the next day of reading. So yeah, that has been my journey with Bhagavatam for so far, sir.
Thank you. That's really good to hear. So, do you intend to come back to that? You said there has been a little pause because of your child's.
Yes. Within a week or so, we are just resetting all the routines so that we can come back. So my mother-in-law also reads other Puranas in the evening with her group of women. So evening is something that we'll have to fix otherwise. So, but generally there is a lot of hearing of these satsang, as you call, at home. So there is naturally you start enjoying this after one point of time. Once it starts off as discipline, and then you start enjoying what you are reading and what you are listening to. So yeah, that is how it has been for us.
So, Sarthak, and for the other viewers also, I should say that Niharika is with the Titan, Tata Group company. She's in a very hectic role. Niharika, what exactly is your designation? You are a regional sales head or something. What exactly are you?
So I had the operations for Fast Track brand, sir, retail operations.
Okay, she heads retail operations for Fast Track, one of the brands of Titan, and she's and for Niharika's information, Sarthak is also with the Tata Group company. Has just joined Tata Steel, also in marketing. So it's like you. So the similarity. So Niharika is a good example because she has a hectic job. She's a hectic corporate professional, and she's able to do this in the midst of that life. And like she said, it has made a difference to her. It will make a difference to us too if we are able to bring a practice like that according to the way that we can adapt to it. Right? We don't have to join any organization or anything. Slowly bring it into our life and make our life more complete with the presence of that. Yeah, Jayashree has a question here.
I don't have a question. I wanted to tell Sarthak that whenever he has time, he can listen to there's one Sri Rajendra Das Ji Maharaj. Have you heard about him, Sarthak? There's one
No,
Yeah,
no, ma'am.
he is
I
very
have
good.
heard of.
Yeah, he is very good. You can listen to his YouTube lectures. He speaks extensively on Bhagavad-gi. So, I mean, his kathas are also very short. So, while going in car or traveling, you can just, 20 minutes, 30 minutes lectures he will give. But very, very good pace in Hindi.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for sharing.
Good. So there are a lot of resources available to hear Bhagavatam, and this option that if you are able to read, I mean, this option that Niharika also mentioned in her life, if you're able to buy a original Bhagavatam book with the Sanskrit and with a translation into Hindi or any other regional language that you're probably more comfortable with, in Indian language rather than English, and read that, that is even better. Along with hearing people on YouTube, reading the original and contemplating on the meanings is even a more enriching experience when you access Bhagavatam. Niharika, which edition of the book did you buy? Which publication?
Gita Press, sir.
Gita Press. Yeah, Gita Press. Is, my opinion to Gita Press is the best available Hindi translation. For Hindi, that is the best.
Sir, I don't know if you have a group for all of us listeners of this program. I think if you have a small WhatsApp group for us also, I think a lot of these things we can learn. Like Jayashree ma'am also mentioned this person. So these little things, it will be very good exchange of information, sir. This thing, what has happened today.
Yeah, true, true. We can also post it here in the chat. I'll think about doing the WhatsApp group also. So we'll keep sharing like this. And through email also, if you want to share something, just email to me. I can email to everybody. I can
Yes,
pass.
sir.
Good.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sir, just I had another observation I just wanted to point out. So, sir, I know that you try to follow a sattvic lifestyle to the extent possible. And the recent addition that you told about that not eating beyond sunset and already not having any onion garlic. Sir, so I see tremendous resemblance with the Jaina tradition also. So even they do not consume any non-veg, no onion, no garlic, and as well as even they do not eat anything after the sunset. So I see striking resemblances with that tradition too.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are some things that, very spiritual paths that many organizations, or like I said, it's not unique to bhakti. Many of these things are not unique to bhakti. What is unique to bhakti is things like japa and reading Bhagavatam. But getting up early in the morning or sleeping early at night or not eating after sunset, these are practices across many spiritual schools of thought. True.
Sir, just another observation too. So we had in our batch Purvi Shah. So she was a Jain practitioner, and she had also delivered some sermons to the Jain students, as in those who were trying to learn Jain philosophy. And they later went on to become monks. So even while I was discussing philosophy with her, so apparently she said that while I was talking about Achinta Bheda Bhed, she said that the school that she believes in is quite similar to the one that we talk about. So that again, I found to be a noticeable observation.
Okay. Okay.
Belief in God and talking about bhakti. She said that if you only talk about jnana, it becomes neeras. When you talk about bhakti, it becomes sweet. So that is why even they focus on bhakti.
Yes. Yes. So yeah, that may be their reason to focus on bhakti. Yes. Just to, but I should also caution you when you sometimes hear these people, like you just now said the example of this person. So their main focus is jnana. There is an understanding in some of the practitioners of jnana yoga that bhakti is only a, what do you call it? It's only done because we are not intellectually capable of doing jnana yoga. Therefore, bhakti is done. That understanding is not correct of bhakti. Bhakti is not done because we are intellectually incapable of doing jnana. Bhakti is the highest form of yoga as far as the Gita is concerned. In the Gita, it's very clear. Okay, anybody who knows simple Sanskrit can make out that again and again Bhagavan comes to the point of bhakti, and he's not giving it because you are not intellectually capable. So bhakti is the highest path. It's just like the logic is simple, that it's because bhakti takes you to that personal relationship with God, which is the complete realization of God. So if you see the people, the scholars who have written on bhakti, the scholars who practiced bhakti, like beginning with Ramanuja, who advocated bhakti, Ramanuja, Madhva, and for that matter, even Shankara, Adi Shankara in his Bhajagovindam song,
Bhaj-
in that he doesn't say that you should do bhakti because you are not capable of doing jnana. He's saying you do bhakti because that is the highest thing. He says, Nahi nahi rakshati dukrankarane. Right? The study of Vyakaranam is not going to protect you. Please do bhakti, Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam. Even Shankara. So
But
all of them were great scholars. They were intellectually far capable than any of us. All of them, Shankara, Ramanuja, Madhva, Chaitanya, all of them have pointed to bhakti, and they never said it's because you're incapable of jnana. But today I hear some people saying that bhakti is for the emotional people, sentimental people. Jnana is for the intellectual people. That is a wrong understanding. Nowhere in the Gita is it said like that, or in the Bhagavatam.
sir, although even Shankara did not say that bhakti is for the intellectually incapable, he like you pointed, he mentioned in the Bhaja Govindam about bhakti. But again, sir, as I view it, please correct me if I'm wrong. Shankara's orientation towards bhakti is like an instrument towards some other goal. So he's seeing it as a means to mukti or maybe brahmanyan or something else, because he says nahi nahi rakshati dukrum karane. And if you read Bhaja Govindam, he will tell you reasons why you should do bhakti, and he would say that okay, this material world is full of miseries and all, but he would not extol bhakti per se. So there would be a difference in the approach towards bhakti in the case of Ramanuja and Shankaracharya, even
Definitely.
though both of them are
Yes.
intellectuals.
Yes, correct. Yeah. That's true. I agree with your understanding. That's correct. That Shankara and the Shankara Sampradaya sees bhakti as a means to mukti. And they see it as something that you give up after you reach mukti. Bhakti is only a ladder to mukti. And mukti is the state of pure jnana. For them, jnana is the goal. Jnana is the goal. That pure state of consciousness. Yes. Whereas in the Ramanuja Sampradaya and later on, after Shankara, all the Vedantic schools which emerged after Shankara, all of them said bhakti is the goal. Bhakti combined with mukti. You see, the ultimate goal is not just mukti, but mukti in the state of bhakti. Did you follow?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Not merely mukti. And in Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya, in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, there it is, mukti is not the goal at all. Only bhakti is the goal. Mukti is considered as inferior. It's obstacle. The desire for mukti is an obstacle to bhakti. Bhakti is the real goal. Bhakti as a process and bhakti as the goal, both are the same. Understood?
Sir, I'll need ahankar, I mean aham for bhakti, right? Because for bhakti to be there will be a Bhagwan and a Bhakta. So, like you said in the previous class, the body and the mind do not remain a liability, but become an asset for
Yeah. Yes.
pursuing bhakti.
In bhakti, correct. In bhakti, they are an asset. Everything is an asset. That is why we don't give up anything. We try to use everything in Sri Bhagavan's service, in Seva. In some way or the other, connect everything to Bhagavan. You don't have to discard anything. You discard anything which comes in the way of bhakti, which becomes a disturbance to bhakti. Udit, you had a question?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good evening.
I had a confusion regarding the part where you said that if you're doing bhakti yoga, then it's easier to reach Sri Bhagwan, and if you're a non-bhakta, it becomes the path is a little difficult. And the reason I say I'm confused is because even when I was a kid, I was told that everything that you see around has been made by God, and everything, as in be it animate or inanimate, something that's living or non-living, the trees, the car, the house, everything that you see. And if I am to consider just that part, I'll be considered a non-bhakta because I'm not considering God as a person. I'm considering God as some bigger entity who has made up all these things. But then I was also made to worship, and that's where I had my first experience of God, as in that this is how he looks like. Now there might be a lot of references as to that. Krishna has a basuri. He looks blue in color, and he's really beautiful. So that picture is now painted, and I also see him as a person. So my confusion comes here that when I consider both of them, am I going on the path of bhakta or non-bhakta, or is it a combination of?
Well, I'm not sure I fully understood your question. Let me see. Let me explain what a bhakta is. Very simple. Bhakta has a personal conception of God. God is a person with full of qualities. Although the qualities that he has are not trigunatmaka, they are not subject to the three gunas of Prakriti. They are beyond the three gunas of Prakriti. And he has a proper form, he has qualities, he has personality. Means he relates with other living beings like persons relate with each other. Okay, so this is the simple understanding of God in bhakti. And with this understanding of Bhagavan, bhakti is done. And the intention of bhakti is to develop the bhavana of seva. Seva to Bhagavan. So when we say seva to Bhagavan, it includes everything because all living beings are a part of Bhagavan, which means that seva mentality pervades all our existence when we interact with normal people also. We think that we should do it in a way that it becomes a seva. It does not become offensive. So we avoid offenses even in normal life, become very polite with other people. We're conscious that Bhagavan exists everywhere. So this is a simple answer to your question. I don't know if it has addressed your question.
A sort of. I just wanted to understand that I think that we, as a person, you can practice both of them together. As in, if you if you have an image in your mind, if you consider him to be a personality of God, and then you have a specific dedicated time where you think about him, and then there could be times where you don't really think about God himself, but you think about the things that you do, or the way things are happening in life. And if you relate to to God, then I believe that that is the part of non-bhakta. So I don't know exactly if we are in the middle of it, or do we take it to any extreme end?
Well, what happens is as you become a bhakta, the thought of Bhagavan's presence, the recognition of Bhagavan's presence everywhere and in the memory also becomes more and more over time. It becomes a favorable thing. It does not become an obstruction to normal life. It becomes favorable. Sometimes people fear that if I'm always thinking of Bhagavan, then I have to stop all my activities because then I won't be able to think of what I should be thinking of when I do my work. No, it is not like that. It is something like when somebody is in having a good friendship with somebody else, okay, or like a child which remembers its parents. A child is very conscious of its parents in its life, right? So even when the child is in school, the thought of its parents may come to its mind repeatedly, even when the child is sitting in the class and listening to the teacher teaching things and so on, or playing in the ground. The thought of its parents may keep coming to its mind again and again. So Bhagavan's presence in our mind, thinking about him, is something that develops over time as we do bhakti. It is not, so in the process of bhakti, it's not overnight. It's not that when we begin bhakti, right from day one, we are perfect. So initially when we begin, we are just theoretically appreciating all the things given here. Theoretically, we know that we should be thinking of Bhagavan all the time, but we are not able to do it. Our thoughts are all over the place like they were all the time. Over time, it develops. It doesn't mean we are non-bhaktas at that time. We are still bhaktas if we are committed ourselves to growing on that path, to exploring that path and going forward. But we should be patient. It may take a year or 2 years or whatever time to develop that consciousness as we do different types of practices related to bhakti. It will take time to develop that mentality and to become more and more conscious about him.
Understood. Thank you.
And we are called a bhakta all the time. We are not a non-bhakta even at that time. Yeah.
Sir, just one doubt here. I know we're running out of time. But in bhakti, we say nirgun and sagun bhakti. So when you are talking about bhakt being a, worshipping as a person, the first point that you gave in the 3 points for bhakti. So in somewhere in nirgun, there will not be a person association. Because
No,
that is.
in bhakti, we don't use these terms. So the term nirguna is used in bhakti just to indicate that Bhagavan and his realization and his seva are not subject to the 3 gunas of Prakriti. They are beyond the 3 gunas. They are beyond the influence of the 3 gunas of Prakriti. For example, we say sattvic activities. Okay, like getting up in the morning is a sattvic activity because it frees us from rajoguna and tamoguna and moves us towards the influence of only sattva guna. Right? That's what is meant by a sattvic activity. A sattvic activity is an activity which decreases the influence of rajoguna, tamoguna in our life and increases the influence of sattva guna. Okay, now bhakti is something that removes even the influence of sattva guna. It definitely decreases rajoguna, tamoguna, but it takes us beyond sattva guna also. Means when an activity of bhakti is taken, even sattva guna doesn't act on it. It is pure. Even sattva guna is a form of contamination. Even though it is the best state to be in the material existence, even better than that is a state of being nirguna. It's like the state of being, comparing white color. We say white color is very pure, but even more pure than white is transparent, clear. Okay, I'm just giving a crude example. So bhakti is like that. It is free from even whiteness. It is transparent. When we see Bhagavan fully, realize Bhagavan fully. Okay, if I'm using the analogy of whiteness for purity of thoughts, but transparency is even more pure than whiteness. Okay, so it's like that. So bhakti is in that place. So these things you understand as you read more, the difference between sattva and nirguna. So when we use nirguna in the context of bhakta, this is what we mean. We don't mean that Bhagavan has no qualities. Bhagavan is full of qualities. He is saguna. He is saguna purusha, where those gunas are not these 3 gunas. Those gunas are different gunas. Good. So I will stop with this for today. It's 8 o'clock now, and you can write to me or call me and we can discuss more on a one-on-one basis too. I'll now chant the Antyamangalam. And as I do that, please chant the Hare Krishna mantra along with me. We'll chant it 3 times. Om Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayanta Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobhramanebhyo Shubhamastu Nityam Lokas Samastas Sukhino Bhavantu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dhanyavada. Thank you for coming.